The night sky was silent, but Earth was not. Cities still shone with scattered lights, radio towers still whispered into the darkness, and satellites still circled above the planet like watchful ghosts. But tonight, something unusual was about to happen. Deep inside an underground facility, a group of tired men and women sat in front of flickering screens. Their eyes were red from long nights, and their faces were pale with worry. 4 months, they had been waiting, watching, and preparing. And now the signal was ready. The world's final message was about to be sent. An old man with gray hair leaned forward toward the microphone. His voice shook, not from weakness, but from the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. The broadcast would not be only for Earth. It would be for anyone who was listening out there, across the stars. "This is Earth," he began slowly, his words steady but sharp. "We know you are watching. We know you are listening. This is our last broadcast, and our promise." The sound echoed through the underground chamber, carried through the cables, pushed up through antennas, and released into the cold dark sky. It traveled outward, past the moon, past the planets, past the emptiness where no human had ever gone. For a moment, silence filled the room. Everyone stared at the old man. He had not yet said what the promise was. His eyes were hard, full of fire that had not died even in his age. He took a deep breath, then continued. "You came here once. You took what was not yours. You thought we were weak, that we would kneel. You thought wrong. Earth does not kneel. We do not forget. And we do not forgive. To those who dare again, know this, we promise retribution." The words struck the room like thunder. Some of the younger officers clenched their fists. Some women closed their eyes, as if whispering prayers. Outside, the night remained quiet, but it was the silence before a storm. No one knew if the message would ever reach its target. No one even knew if the enemy was still out there. But the promise had been spoken, and once spoken, it could never be taken back. The broadcast ended, but the signal kept traveling into the endless dark. Far away, across black space, beyond what any telescope could see, something ancient stirred. The stars looked the same as always, but something was different. Hidden eyes were watching. Silent machines were listening. Somewhere beyond the edge of human maps, the message arrived. In a vast metallic chamber, alien voices clicked and hissed as the signal was decoded. Strange figures, tall and thin, bent over glowing consoles. Their eyes, dark and unblinking, studied the words. To them, human speech was simple, almost primitive. But there was something in the voice that made them pause. Something dangerous. Something alive. One of the creatures let out a low sound, like laughter but colder. "They dare threaten us," it hissed. "They are still fragile. Still crawling in the dirt." But another, older one, raised its clawed hand for silence. Its gaze stayed fixed on the recording of the old man's voice. "No," it said slowly. "They are no longer the same. When we last came, they were scattered. Weak. But now they carry fire in their blood." The chamber fell quiet. The only sound was the hum of their machines. For the first time in centuries, the invaders felt something they had not felt before. A small spark of doubt. Back on Earth, life went on. People woke to another day. Children went to school. Factories worked. Farmers tilled their soil. They did not know about the broadcast sent into the dark. They did not hear the promise spoken in their name. But soon, they would. Because promises have power. And this promise would not remain silent. The old man stood alone after the others had left. He looked at the dark screens and thought of the past. He remembered fire falling from the sky, shadows moving through the ruins of cities, and screams that had never left his memory. He remembered how humanity had suffered, how it had almost broken. But he also remembered something else, how they had survived. He placed his hand on the cold steel wall and whispered to himself, "They will come, and when they do, we will be ready." Outside, the wind howled across the empty fields above the facility. The stars still shone, indifferent and distant. But somewhere out there, a silent war had already begun. The broadcast had been heard. The promise had been received. And the future of Earth would never again be the same. The night after the broadcast, Earth was quiet, but the silence was heavy. It felt like the calm before something vast, something unseen. In the underground facility, the old man sat in his office, staring at a dusty map of the stars pinned to the wall. It showed routes, paths, and empty places. But in one corner, deep red lines marked the place where the enemy had come long ago. A soft knock came at the door. A young officer stepped inside. Her name was Mara. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and carried herself with a soldier's discipline. But her face was not hard. She still carried hope in her gaze. "They heard it, didn't they?" she asked quietly. The old man looked up. His eyes, weary and full of memory, locked on hers. "They always listen," he said. "The question is, what will they do now?" Mara stepped closer. "Maybe we shouldn't have sent it. Maybe it was too much." The old man shook his head. "It was the only choice. Silence is death. Words are fire. They needed to know we still burn." Above ground, the world went on as if nothing had changed. People laughed in cafes. Children played in the streets. Planes crossed the skies. But not everyone was unaware. Hidden military stations across continents had begun to move in secret. Submarines slipped into the oceans. Satellites shifted their orbits. Earth's defense network was waking. The enemy had once called humans fragile. They were not wrong then. But humans had learned. Humans had adapted. And now, they were not the same. Far away, light years from Earth, the alien council gathered. They met in a chamber of glass and steel, high above the surface of a dying world. Their bodies were thin, their limbs long, their eyes black like endless pits. They were older than humanity, older than many stars. But age does not always mean strength. The recording of Earth's broadcast played again in the chamber. The old man's voice filled the alien hall. His promise echoed in their language. Some hissed in anger. Others fell silent. "They are small," one creature said. "But their words, they strike like claws." Another leaned forward, its thin mouth curling. "We could crush them again, as we did before." The oldest among them, a figure cloaked in silver, raised a hand. Its voice was slow, heavy with thought. "No. Do not speak so quickly. Last time we came, they crawled. Now they stand. Last time, they broke. Now they threaten. Small fires grow into storms." The chamber shifted into uneasy silence. The enemy remembered. They remembered the last time they set foot on Earth. They remembered the fierce resistance, the stubborn refusal of humans to surrender, even when cities burned. And though they had left victorious, the memory was not one of glory. It was one of frustration. On Earth, Mara stood at the observation deck of the facility. The stars above looked calm, like pinpoints of silver painted on a dark canvas. But she felt no peace. Her instincts whispered that eyes were already watching, somewhere out there. She turned as the old man joined her. "Do you really believe they will come?" she asked. His gaze stayed on the stars. "They cannot resist. Pride will drag them. Anger will guide them. And when they come, they will find we are not the same prey they remember." Mara's fists tightened. She thought of her family, of her little brother who played with toy rockets in the garden, dreaming of the stars. She thought of the promise spoken in the broadcast. And in her heart, fear and fire burned together. Across the planet, secret preparations continued. Factories built machines not for farming, not for trade, but for war. Laboratories unlocked weapons hidden for decades. Pilots trained in skies no civilian would ever see. The promise had awakened something in humanity. Not just anger, not just fear, but unity. For the first time in centuries, Earth's nations moved not as rivals, but as one. But unity is fragile. And the enemy was clever. They did not always attack with fire. Sometimes, they attacked with whispers. In a quiet city, far from the facility, a strange signal flickered across a screen. At first it looked like static. Then, slowly, a pattern formed. Words, not human words, but words that bent into human language. "We are watching," the signal said. "We are coming. Prepare to kneel." The young technician who saw it froze in his chair. His hands shook as he called his supervisor. Within hours, the message spread through the highest levels of Earth's command. The old man listened to the recording. His face hardened. "So it begins," he said. Mara stood beside him, her voice low but steady. "Then let them come." Above them, unseen in the cold blackness of space, alien ships began to move. Their shadows stretched across the void, silent and patient, like hunters circling their prey. But this time, Earth was waiting. This time, the prey had teeth. The message from the enemy spread through Earth's secret networks like fire through dry grass. Leaders of nations read it in silence. Generals stared at it with cold eyes. Scientists studied the strange code, but there was nothing hidden. The words were clear: "We are coming. Prepare to kneel." The old man stood before a room full of officers and commanders. Maps glowed on the table in front of them, showing Earth, the moon, and the stars beyond. His voice was steady, though his hands pressed hard against the edge of the table. "They want fear," he said. "They want us to break before they even arrive. We will give them nothing. We will give them silence, until we give them fire." Mara sat at his side, watching. She had never seen him this way before. His words were like steel, sharp and unyielding. For the first time, she believed the stories of his past, the battles he had survived when the invaders came long ago. Far above Earth, hidden among drifting rocks, alien ships slid into the system. Their forms were black, like shadows carved from the void. They did not burn with bright engines. They glided, silent and patient, using gravity to hide their presence. To human eyes, they were ghosts. But Earth was no longer blind. Satellites caught flickers of their shapes, strange disturbances in the dark. Screens lit up in the facility. Mara leaned forward as the images appeared. "They are here," whispered one of the technicians. The room froze. The old man did not move for several seconds. Then he said, "How many?" "4. No, 5. Wait. 6 large vessels," the technician replied, his voice trembling. "And dozens of smaller ones, escorting them." A heavy silence fell. 6 vast ships, each larger than a city. Humanity had never built anything close to that size. Mara felt her stomach twist, but she forced her face to stay calm. The old man finally spoke. "So, they arrive like kings. Good. Let them believe their crown is safe." The alien fleet drifted closer, slow and deliberate. From their ships, long-range eyes studied Earth. They watched the oceans, the continents, the shining web of cities. They listened to the endless chatter of human transmissions. To them, Earth was loud, messy, alive. In the alien command chamber, the cloaked elder stood before a vast window, staring at the blue planet. "Still beautiful," it said softly. "But beauty can hide claws." One of the younger commanders hissed. "We should strike now. Burn them before they gather strength." The elder turned, its eyes deep and dark. "No. Patience. They think they are ready. Let us see. Let us taste their fire before we drown it." Back on Earth, preparations grew faster. Factories did not sleep. Pilots trained until their bodies ached. Engineers worked underground, building weapons no one outside had ever seen. Mara walked through the hangars of the facility, where sleek machines waited under heavy cloth. She could not see them fully, but she could feel the energy they carried. Human technology had changed since the last war. And some of these weapons had never been tested in real battle. "Will it be enough?" she asked quietly. The old man's voice came from behind her. It will never feel enough. That is war. But enough or not, we will stand. 4 days, the alien ships hung at the edge of the system, silent. They did not attack. They only watched. News of their presence was hidden from the public, but rumors began to spread. People looked at the sky differently. Children pointed at the stars with unease. Some whispered that the end was near. Others believed Earth's leaders would protect them. On the 7th night, Mara could not sleep. She stood again at the observation deck, the stars sharp against the dark. Her mind replayed the alien message, the promise of kneeling. She whispered to herself, "Never." At that same hour, millions of kilometers away, an alien commander studied Earth's defenses. Strange signals bounced from the planet, encrypted and sharp. The humans were hiding something, that much was clear. "They are preparing," the commander said. The elder's voice came back. "Then let them. We will strike when their hope is highest. That is when the fall cuts deepest." The fleet shifted, engines glowing faintly now. Their path bent toward Earth. Slowly, carefully, they began their approach. In the facility, alarms broke the silence. Screens filled with red. Technicians shouted data across the room. Mara rushed to the old man's side. "They're moving," someone cried. The old man's eyes hardened. "So it begins," he said. His voice carried across the room like a hammer. "Wake every station. Call every wing. Earth stands now." And across the planet, in hidden bases and buried bunkers, soldiers rose. Sirens echoed in steel tunnels. Pilots strapped into their cockpits. Generals opened sealed orders. The promise of retribution had been spoken. The enemy had answered. Now, the two fires moved toward each other, one blue, one black, across the endless void. The first battle was coming. The alien fleet moved like a dark tide, silent and steady, closer and closer to Earth. 6 massive warships led the way, each one the size of a city, their hulls glowing faintly in the cold blackness. Behind them, smaller escorts drifted like shadows. On Earth, in the underground facility, the alarms had not stopped. Screens burned with red warnings. Across the planet, hidden bases answered the call. Humanity was awake now. The old man stood before the central command table, his hands gripping the edge. His voice was calm, though the weight of the moment pressed down on everyone. "They think we will panic," he said. "They think we will hide. But we are not the same prey they remember." Mara stood beside him, her fists tight at her sides. She had never felt the air so heavy, as if the whole world was holding its breath. Far above, in orbit around the moon, the first human defense stations powered on. Hidden for decades, built in silence, their weapons locked onto the incoming fleet. Their steel bodies hummed as energy filled their cores. "Targets in range," a voice said over the comms. The old man's eyes narrowed. "Wait," he ordered. In space, the alien ships drifted closer, scanning every signal, every movement. Their commanders watched Earth carefully, waiting for signs of weakness. Inside one of the great alien vessels, a commander hissed as the planet filled its screen. "They do nothing. They are afraid." But the cloaked elder shook its head. "Do not trust silence. Silence can be a blade." And then the silence broke. From the far side of the moon, hidden cannons lit up the darkness. A storm of fire streaked across the void, tearing toward the alien fleet. The first human strike had begun. The alien escorts twisted quickly, shields flaring as the barrage hit them. 2 smaller vessels were torn apart, glowing like broken stars. Shards of their bodies spun into space. In the facility, cheers erupted, but the old man raised his hand. "Do not cheer yet," he said softly. "They will answer." And they did. The alien warships turned their weapons forward. Great beams of light burst from their hulls, crossing the black like spears. The first defense station near the moon exploded in a silent flash, its wreckage scattering into orbit. Mara's breath caught as the screens lit with destruction. For every alien escort destroyed, a human station fell. The sky above was becoming a graveyard. But humanity had planned for this. On Earth's surface, massive launch bays opened. From deep bunkers, sleek fighters roared into the sky. Hundreds of ships, small but fast, broke free from the atmosphere, streaking upward like arrows. Mara's eyes widened as she watched the swarm rise. "They're ours," she whispered. The old man nodded. "Yes. And this time, we hunt." The human fighters reached orbit quickly, their formations sharp, their engines blazing. They struck at the alien escorts with speed and fury. The invaders were larger, stronger, but they were slower. The swarm darted between them, unleashing missiles and beams that tore through black metal. For the first time in centuries, the invaders felt pain. In their command chamber, one of the younger commanders shouted, "They have grown dangerous. Strike harder." The elder's eyes narrowed as it watched human ships twist and strike. "Yes," it said slowly. "Dangerous. More than before. This is not the same Earth." Back on the ground, civilians began to notice. People in cities looked up as streaks of light crossed the night sky. Some thought they were meteors, but others knew the truth. Rumors spread like fire. Fear gripped hearts, but so did something else: pride. For the first time, people whispered not of surrender, but of resistance. In space, the battle raged on. Another alien escort was destroyed, ripped apart by a swarm of human fighters. But humanity paid in blood. Whole squadrons vanished under enemy beams. One by one, names disappeared from the command screens. Mara clenched her teeth as she read the reports. She wanted to scream, but she held it in. She remembered the old man's words, "Silence can be a blade." And then, Earth revealed another blade. From beneath the oceans, vast submarines rose, carrying missiles designed for the stars. They broke the surface and launched their payloads upward. The sky filled with trails of fire as the weapons streaked into orbit. The alien fleet shifted in confusion. The missiles struck with brutal force, shaking one of the larger ships. Its shields flared, then cracked. For a moment, the giant vessel listed to one side, wounded. Mara's heart jumped. "We can hurt them," she cried. The old man's voice was quiet but fierce. "Yes. And we will hurt them more." The aliens answered with fury. Their great beams tore through Earth's orbit, cutting through defense satellites, burning human fighters to ash. The sky became fire. But the humans did not stop. Every loss was met with another strike. Every death fueled another attack. For every fighter burned, another rose to take its place. The old man's eyes stayed fixed on the screens. His voice was steady, though the world around him shook. "This is only the beginning," he said. And in the dark void, lit by fire and ruin, the first true battle for Earth had begun. The smoke of battle still drifted in Earth's orbit. Wreckage floated like broken stars, shattered satellites, burning fragments of alien escorts, and the silent remains of human fighters. The void was no longer empty, it was filled with ghosts. Inside the underground facility, the command room was lit by the red glow of emergency screens. The old man stood in silence as reports came in. Hundreds of human pilots were lost. 2 defense stations near the moon were gone. And yet, the aliens had not crushed them. For the first time in history, humanity had stood against the invaders and survived. Mara leaned over the table, her eyes burning with both grief and fire. "We can fight them," she said. "We hurt them. Did you see that ship? It bled." The old man nodded slowly. "Yes. But pain will only make them crueler." Above, the alien fleet regrouped. One of the great warships still carried the scars of Earth's strike, its shields cracked, its hull scorched. Inside its command chamber, the younger commanders hissed in fury. "They dare wound us," one cried. "We should burn their cities now, every one of them." But the cloaked elder raised its hand for silence. Its eyes glowed with a dark, calm fire. "Not yet. They must suffer slowly. Their pride must be crushed piece by piece, until nothing remains. Only then will they kneel. So the order was given. Hours later, people in cities across Earth looked up and saw fire in the sky. Alien beams cut through orbit, striking at power stations, satellites, and communication towers. Explosions lit the night as whole grids went dark. On the ground, chaos spread. Screens flickered to black. Radios went silent. Lights died in countless homes. Humanity's voice was being cut away. In the facility, Mara slammed her fist against the table. They're choking us. They want us blind and deaf. The old man's jaw tightened. Then we speak in another way. Hidden deep below the surface, Earth's secret weapon stirred. It was not a ship, not a cannon, but something older. Buried decades ago, left in silence, waiting for this very day. Engineers called it the Hammer of Dawn. Massive generators roared to life. Energy surged through underground tunnels. At last, a great dish, hidden under layers of stone and steel, opened its eye to the heavens. Mara's breath caught as she saw it on the screen. Is it ready? The old man's voice was firm. It has been waiting longer than you have been alive. Above the planet, the alien fleet spread wide, their escorts moving like wolves around the massive warships. They were confident. They believed the humans had shown all their tricks. They were wrong. The hammer fired. A beam of pure light tore from the ground, cutting through the sky, breaking the clouds apart in a burning line. It reached the heavens in less than a second and slammed into the wounded alien ship. The vessel's shields cracked fully this time. Metal screamed as the giant hull split apart. A storm of fire erupted, and the ship exploded in silence, scattering its broken body across the stars. In the command chamber of the facility, the room shook with cheers. Mara shouted, her face alight with fierce joy. We killed one. We killed a giant. But the old man did not cheer. His eyes stayed hard. And now the others will come for blood. He was right. The alien fleet howled in fury. Their weapons turned toward Earth. Beams brighter than the sun lanced downward, striking military bases, cracking mountains, and boiling seas. Cities far from the battle saw fire in the sky and trembled. On the screens, countless red markers lit up. Humanity was bleeding. Mara's joy turned cold. They're hitting everywhere at once, she said. The old man closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. This is what war is. Strike and suffer. Fire and ashes. But remember, Mara, every time they strike, we learn. Far above, the elder watched the burning of Earth with unblinking eyes. See how they scatter. See how they burn. Soon, their promise will be nothing but smoke. But even as the alien spoke, another voice echoed in its mind, the voice of Earth's last broadcast, the voice of the old man. We do not kneel. We do not forget. We promise retribution. And the elder, though silent, felt the smallest weight in its chest. On Earth, Mara stood at the observation deck once more, watching the streaks of fire in the night. She clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. They think they can break us, she whispered. But they will see. We are not broken. We are rising. Behind her, the old man stepped forward. His shadow stretched long against the deck. His voice was quiet but full of iron. This was only their first blow. And now, Mara, it is our turn. The earth shook with war, the sky burned with fire, and the promise of retribution echoed louder than ever. Earth burned. Cities that had stood for centuries were now scarred by fire. Mountains shook where alien beams had struck. Oceans boiled in places where the sky itself had fallen. The enemy had shown their strength, and the cost was heavy. Yet even in ruin, Earth did not kneel. In the underground facility, the command center buzzed with noise, reports of destruction, losses, and survivors fighting back. Screens showed both flames and defiance. Civilians had taken up arms. Soldiers moved through broken streets. Resistance was rising in every corner. Mara stood among the chaos, her eyes sharp, her voice steady. "We are bleeding, but we are still here," she said. "We fight in the skies, we fight on the ground, we fight in every shadow. They will not take us." The old man looked at her, his face lined with exhaustion but burning with pride. "Good," he said. "Because the next step will be harder. And it will decide everything." From the far side of Earth's orbit, hidden fleets prepared to move. Not just fighters this time, but heavy cruisers, ships humanity had built in secret, waiting for the day of reckoning. They were smaller than the alien giants, but they carried new weapons, born from both human invention and the study of captured alien technology from decades ago. "Operation Dawnfire," the old man announced. "We strike their core fleet. Not here, above Earth. Too dangerous for civilians. We pull them away. We make space itself our battlefield." Mara's heart pounded. She knew what this meant. It was not defense anymore. It was attack. Humanity was stepping out of the shadow. Hours later, engines ignited in the dark. Hidden hangars beneath the earth, the seas, and even the moon opened, releasing ships that had never been seen before. They moved in silence, a secret army rising at last. The alien fleet, still circling Earth like vultures, noticed the movement. Their sensors lit up with trails of energy. The younger commanders hissed. "They dare chase us into the void," one snarled. But the cloaked elder's gaze was fixed on the shifting patterns. "No," it said slowly. "They are not chasing. They are pulling. Clever humans. They want us away from the planet." The trap was set. At the edge of the solar system, where the sun's light dimmed into shadow, humanity's fleet gathered. Dozens of cruisers, hundreds of fighters, and the Hammer's smaller siblings. Portable cannons hidden in asteroids, disguised as rocks until now. Mara stood on the deck of one of the lead cruisers, her uniform crisp, her heart racing. For the first time, she was not in the facility watching from a screen. She was in the war itself. Her ship's captain, a stern woman with eyes like ice, gave the order. "All units hold. Let them come." And they came. The alien warships moved from Earth, their escorts spreading wide, their weapons glowing. The void between the stars trembled as the two forces closed the distance. On Mara's screen, the old man's face appeared, transmitted from command. His voice was calm, but behind it was fire. "This is our stand. Remember what was spoken. We do not kneel. We do not forget. Today, we teach them what Earth means." The fleets clashed. From the asteroid fields, hidden cannons fired, cutting through alien escorts before they realized the danger. Human cruisers struck fast, their weapons coordinated, tearing into the weaker ships at the edges. The aliens answered with fury. Their beams lit up the void, ripping through human squadrons, breaking ships apart in bursts of flame. Mara's cruiser shook violently as an enemy blast scraped its shields. "Hold steady," the captain barked. "Return fire." Mara gripped the railing, her teeth clenched. Outside, she could see it, the wounded alien giant from before, still limping but alive. Its presence was like a shadow across the stars. "Target that one," she said fiercely. Missiles streaked from her cruiser, joining the barrage from others. The giant shuddered, shields flickering, metal cracking. Then, at last, it broke. The ship split in two, fire spilling into the black. A roar of triumph filled the comms. Humanity had destroyed another of the enemy's city ships. But victory carried a price. Another cruiser near Mara's ship was struck directly, its hull torn apart. Pieces of it drifted past her window, glowing with fire. Voices screamed across the comms, then went silent. Her stomach twisted, but she forced herself to stay steady. This was war. Every moment was both life and death. Back in the alien command chamber, the younger leaders hissed in anger. Too many losses. Too much resistance. The elder remained still, its black eyes unblinking. "Yes," it said softly. "They have teeth. They have claws. They are dangerous." Its voice grew colder. Then we end this. Not by striking their ships. Not by chasing their fighters. We strike their heart. We burn their earth. Mara did not know it yet, but even as her fleet fought bravely, the aliens were preparing their deadliest move. The battle in the void raged on, fire against fire, steel against steel, but the true storm was turning back toward Earth. And the promise of retribution was about to face its greatest test. The void burned with fire. Human ships and alien giants clashed in the darkness, each strike shaking the heavens. But while the fleets tore each other apart, the Elder gave the final command. Turn to Earth. Burn their heart. And so the remaining warships, wounded but still strong, shifted course. Their weapons glowed with power as they angled back toward the blue planet. On Mara's cruiser, alarms filled the air. They're leaving the battle, a voice cried. Mara's eyes widened. They're going after Earth. The captain's jaw tightened. They want to end it in one blow. The old man's face appeared on the comm screen, his voice calm but heavy with iron. Then we end it first. Hold them here as long as you can. The hammer is ready. Every ship, every fighter, every weapon humanity had left turned to block the enemy's path. The void became a storm of fire. Mara's cruiser dove through wreckage, firing everything it had. Around her, other ships did the same. They knew the truth. If the alien giants reached Earth, it was over. But the enemy was relentless. Another human cruiser was torn apart. Fighters vanished in bursts of flame. Mara's ship shook under the force of each hit. Still, they fought. Still, they refused to yield. At the facility on Earth, the hammer of dawn prepared to fire again. Engineers shouted over the roar of the generators. Energy surged through the massive dish, glowing brighter than the sun. The old man stood at its control, his hand resting on the final switch. His voice whispered into the comms, reaching Mara across the stars. Hold them for me. Just a little longer. In the alien command chamber, the younger commanders laughed as human ships fell. They are breaking, one hissed. But the Elder's eyes narrowed. It felt the weight in the void. It felt the silence of the humans, the calm before the storm. No, it whispered. They are waiting. And then the storm came. The hammer fired. A beam of light brighter than anything the sky had ever seen tore upward, piercing the darkness. It struck one of the alien giants head-on. The ship's shields cracked, then shattered. Its hull ripped apart, fire blooming in every direction. Cheers filled Mara's cruiser, but the fight was not over. Two giants still advanced, their weapons glowing with death. Mara's heart pounded. We can't stop them all, she shouted. The old man's voice returned, soft but fierce. Yes, we can. But the hammer cannot fire again. Not in time. It is yours now, Mara. Her breath caught. She looked out at the enemy fleet, massive and unyielding. Around her, the human ships were broken, their numbers thinning fast. There was only one way left. The captain turned to her. If we strike their core, we can cripple them. But it means going inside their fire. It means... She did not finish. She did not need to. Mara straightened, her fear burning into resolve. Then that's what we do. Her cruiser roared forward, breaking formation, diving straight toward the nearest alien giant. Enemy beams slashed past, cutting close, but she did not turn. The ship shook, alarms screamed, but still she pushed on. Closer, she whispered. Just a little closer. Her eyes locked on the glowing heart of the enemy ship, the core reactor buried deep inside. With one final breath, she gave the order. All power to engines. All weapons, fire at once. The cruiser unleashed its full fury. Missiles, beams, and torpedoes slammed into the alien giant at point-blank range. For a moment, the void itself seemed to shatter with the explosion. The alien warship broke apart, fire tearing through its vast body. Mara's cruiser vanished in the blaze, swallowed by light. In the facility, the old man bowed his head. His voice was soft, heavy with both grief and pride. You kept the promise. Only one alien giant remained. It turned, its black hull glowing with fury, but it was alone now. And Earth was not. Human cruisers, bloodied but alive, swarmed it. Fighters struck from all sides. From the planet below, the hammer fired one last time. The final warship split apart, its body falling into silence. The sky cleared. The battle was over. On Earth, people poured into the streets, looking up at the stars where fire no longer burned. They wept, they shouted, they embraced. Against all odds, humanity had stood. And humanity had won. In the silent command chamber, the old man stood alone. He looked at the dark screens, at the map of the stars, at the empty space where Mara's voice would never return. His hand rested on the table, and he whispered the same words he had spoken in the first broadcast. We do not kneel. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Then he raised his head, his eyes burning with the fire of tomorrow. Because even in victory, he knew this was not the end. Somewhere beyond the stars, others were listening. Others were watching. And Earth's last broadcast still traveled through the dark, carrying its promise. Retribution had come once. It would come again. And this time, humanity would be ready.